Okay, let's kick off this explainer by acknowledging a pretty profound truth about us. Humans are incredibly intellectual animals. Because of that sheer intellect, we've come up with all sorts of tools to survive and thrive. But today, we're zooming in on one of our most fundamental, absolutely game-changing inventions. We are talking about a concept that has completely revolutionized human economic life. To really wrap our heads around this, Professor Crowther actually hit the nail on the head. He pointed out that just like the invention of fire totally changed science and the wheel changed mechanics, the invention of money completely transformed human interaction. It's not just that crumpled paper in your wallet. It's a foundational technology. It was designed from the ground up to satisfy human wants by allowing goods and services to flow seamlessly. So to understand why our modern economy literally depends on this abstract concept, we actually have to look backward. Here is our agenda for today. First, the flaws of the barter system. Second, defining modern money. Third, the evolution of currency. And finally, the essential qualities of money. All right, jumping right into section 1, the flaws of the barter system. Let's plunge into the economic dark ages for a second to really feel the pain of how trade used to work. So, before money was a thing, people just exchanged goods for goods. Classic barter, right? But this created a massive everyday headache called the lack of double coincidence of wants. Picture this. You have a giant sack of cloth and you desperately need rice. You finally find a guy with rice, but guess what? He doesn't want your cloth. He wants fish. If your wants don't perfectly line up, the deal is off. The whole system was incredibly inefficient. And even if you did find a match, there was absolutely no common measure of value. Without a standard unit, how do you even figure out if 2 liters of milk is a fair trade for 2 kilograms of rice? Plus, humans naturally need to save for the future. But in a barter economy, trying to store perishable stuff like milk, eggs, or fish for the future, practically impossible. Not to mention, you'd need massive warehouses just to store your savings. Then you've got what is arguably the most absurd issue, indivisibility. Say you have a huge sack of wheat, and you want a goat, but the guy with the goat only wants half a sack of wheat. What do? You simply cannot trade for half a live goat without, ruining the goat. You just couldn't chop animals or houses into smaller pieces to make exact change. And finally, let's talk about borrowing. The problem of deferred payments, or paying a loan back in the future, was a total nightmare. Imagine trying to return perishable commodities in their exact original condition months or years later. It was entirely unfeasible. All of this friction in trade was literally holding human civilization back. Which brings us to section 2, defining modern money. How do you trade when nobody wants what you have? You can't agree on a fair price, and you absolutely can't chop your goat in half. Enter the absolute hero of our explainer, money. Professor Crowther defines it perfectly as anything generally acceptable as a means of exchange that also acts as a measure and a store of value. Or, if you prefer Professor Walker's beautifully simple take, money is what money does. The money circulating in our economy today was created specifically to wipe out every single one of those glaring difficulties of the barter system we just talked about. Okay, moving on to section 3, the evolution of currency. Because as you can probably guess, money didn't just magically appear overnight. It came into existence through a long, continuous evolution, constantly adapting to what human civilization needed at the time. Looking back across human history, you can really see our drive to perfect this technology. We evolved through some very distinct stages, starting all the way from animal money and moving right up to the electronic money we use today. Every single stage was an innovation designed to solve the friction of the era before it. Let's break these down. Back in the proto-historic period, early humans actually used animal money. Think cows and sheep. But as we know from our goat example, you can't divide them. So we pivoted to commodity money. Depending on the local climate and culture, folks started trading with animal skins, feathers, salt, rare stones, and cowrie shells. But yeah, hoarding massive amounts of feathers or shells quickly turned into a storage nightmare. To fix that storage issue, we leveled up to metallic money, utilizing super durable metals like gold, silver, and copper. The catch? Precious metals were pretty scarce, and random chunks of metal lacked uniformity. So ancient rulers started taking small, uniform pieces of metal and stamping their official seals right on them. This created standard, full-bodied coins, and later, token coins, where the face value was actually higher than the metal inside. But honestly, carrying heavy bags of coins everywhere dangerous, and incredibly inconvenient. That friction forced the next great evolution: paper money. It was the perfect lightweight substitute. And over time, the job of issuing this paper currency was monopolized and strictly safeguarded by authorities, like central banks, to maintain absolute trust and stability in the whole system. Fast forward to today. The hassle of handling paper cash, plus the risk of losing it, has catapulted us even further. We moved into bank credit money with checks, then plastic money with our debit and credit cards, and now we are all in on electronic money. Digital wallets and mobile apps are facilitating instant, cashless transactions globally, all still backed by the central bank. Which brings us to our final part, Section 4, the essential qualities of money. To wrap up our analysis of this incredible tool, we need to understand the core rules that actually make our current monetary system work. Like, why does a random piece of paper or a tiny number on a screen hold so much power over us? Well, modern money really only works because it has these 6 specific qualities. First, general acceptability. Literally, everyone has to agree to use it. It needs divisibility into smaller denominations, finally fixing that whole goat problem. It must have durability to be passed around endlessly, cognizability so you recognize it instantly without getting scammed, portability so it's a breeze to carry, and stability so it actually holds its value for when you want to buy something next year. Also, we've got to talk about enforcement. Actual coins and currency notes are what we call legal tender money. That means they are backed by law. Nobody can legally refuse them when you're making a transaction. On the flip side, things like checks or bills of exchange are non-legal tender or optional money. They're super convenient, sure, but there is absolutely no legal rule forcing someone to accept them. From dragging around live livestock to just effortlessly tapping glowing digital screens, this abstract intellectual invention is literally running our modern world. It has never stopped evolving to remove friction and make human cooperation easier, which leaves us with a really fascinating question to chew on. As our technology accelerates deeper into the digital unknown, how will human intellect evolve the concept of money next?